And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate. I'm Ray, and this is my co-host, Dan. Dan, will you say hi?
Hi, Dan.
And together we make a pair of Bearded Men of Real Estate, which the show used to be called. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about on today's show, so we're going to pretty much jump right into it. You know, it felt like a slow news week, but then as I started to dive into some of these articles, there's a little more here. So we're going to be talking about mortgage applications. There's a little more meat. We're going to talk about mortgage applications. So the rates are going up and buyers are rushing into the market. So we're going to talk about what that means for home buyers, how that affects home prices, especially because we have a special guest, which I'll introduce in a second, who's going to be adamant about how we appraise this situation. Home buyers, builder confidence, that's dipping now. So we're going to go into why, because there's a lot of inventory that we should build. And apparently builder confidence is dipping. Dan, this is big news.
Yeah, it's huge news. Sorry, we have to be more incendiary on here. It's huge news.
Huge news
is dipping.
Yeah, wait till you see the size of this dip. We also have forbearance. That rate drops. We're going to be talking about that. And there's a crypto mortgage in town. So we'll try to talk a little bit about how this works and what it is. Regulators are slapping some loan officers for fines for skipping class. The continuing education, we all have to have in the real estate industry. Finally, somebody's getting in trouble for not doing it. And then our special guest is going to be talking about something that's close to his heart, and it's remote appraisers. Maybe we should introduce who our guest is. Are you ready, Dan?
I'm not. I've seen him. I'm not, but let's go.
Yeah, if you're not watching us on YouTube or Facebook right now, you're going to miss it out a little bit. You definitely should be. Yeah. Please welcome to the show, Scap. Yay. Welcome to the show.
What's
Beautiful
up? What's up,
temporarily bearded man.
Oh boy.
So for the audio listeners and podcast listeners, he's got the largest beard wig I think I've ever seen.
So my first question is, it's hair for the listeners. It's hair and a beard wig. Are they connected?
No, they're separate pieces. But I had to, when you guys invited me on, the first thing that went through my mind was, I got to get in just like these guys. I got to pay homage to them. So, that's what I choose to do, and here we are. So, but it'll be coming off very quickly because I don't know how the hell you guys deal with it.
I bet that's way itchier than real beard. I don't know. Some of those are actually made from real hairs or real beard hairs. But whenever I have a friend that's like, I'm gonna grow out my beard, I was like, okay, hopefully you get through the itchy stage okay. And they're like, itchy stage, pish posh. And then they're like, oh, it's a little bit itchy today. I was like, okay. They're like, wait, 3-4 days later, they're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you'll get through it, and then it's all nice and soft and snug. You can snuggle up with it. It's really great. But there is a phase that's pretty terrible, which is
there's a tough phase you got to get through it. Ray and I haven't had that phase in years.
Yeah, there was one time where I trimmed it a little too short, and I was like, oh my goodness, I trimmed it right into the itchy face. It was terrible. Ooh. So if you're joining us live, you can also comment live, just like Julie Moon is. She says Scap looks very intimidating on his thumbnail. That's what I told him too, and his response was, I have to look mean because I'm an appraiser.
Well, that's also why he's incognito today. So people don't actually get to see who he is.
No, we're actually we've gone far enough with this, so now it's time for me.
It's already getting itchy. You'll let
you guys.
The real Scap, please stand.
Yeah,
there he is. Yay.
There you go.
Melissa Mara saying hello, gents. Debbie Rice Miller, hi. It's been forever since I've seen you. Greg Wicker, what's up, Greg? Thanks for joining the show. Melissa says, well, that's not what I was expecting. Wait, she was talking about before you took off the beard, Scap. Before you took off the beard, whenever we first showed you, that's not what she was. And she said the D Jones is like a beard weave. What's up? Well, thank you guys for joining us. If you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, you can comment, and then we can display your comment live. Like Julie Moon says, she hopes she never experiences the itchy beard phase. So yeah,
I mean, you keep talking about the Bulldogs, that may happen.
Yeah, that may happen. And we also have several people that have joined us in Clubhouse. So if you're listening to Clubhouse, go up to the very top of the room, and there's a little greenhouse that says Real Estate Networking. If you guys have never heard of Clubhouse and you just want to jump on, I encourage you to get involved with a group like Real Estate Networking. Another group is called Real Estate All Day. If you're interested in real estate, there's a lot of good people, good agents, good content there. So jump on, look for those clubs, and be sure you become a member of the club. That way you get alerted of rooms like ours. There's podcasts, there's other kinds of rooms. Our good friend Justin from Canada has a room on there that's called Practical Tactical. That's wonderful. So be sure you're following the club because you don't want to miss those rooms. And also follow the people that are up there on stage. So we have several people that contribute to us every week and kind of help us out manage the flow as people are coming in and out. If you want to raise your hand and say something during the show, you're more than welcome to. But just all you have to do is raise your hand, make sure your bio is filled out if you're in Clubhouse. So we don't let anybody up there with an empty bio. So make sure you got a full bio. Hopefully you're following some people are following you, and then we can prove that you're a real person, and then we'll let you say whatever you want. Live is so dangerous. We live very dangerously.
It's the only, first of all, it's the only live recorded on YouTube and
Facebook
podcast. And we also have allow people to come on live and comment. We're the only ones that do it. I don't care who else does it. We're the only ones that do it.
For a long time, we were the only ones broadcasting in 3 different locations, though.
Yeah.
For a long time. But I think there are others now. There are others, but I don't know who they are.
They're horrible. They all suck. Sorry. Again, if you're just joining, I'm trying to be more incendiary. I'm trying to get more views. They're all horrible. I hate all of them.
Terrible. They're Susie Ormans. Speaking of sharing the show, Scap shared it with his appraisal group folks. So hopefully we'll get a lot of good feedback from other appraisers in the industry on some of these topics.
It could be bad though.
Yeah, it could. Well, our relationship with appraisers, it can be on the fence.
Vince, it's like I'm watching you, Mark.
I love me some Vince. Vince is awesome. So he's a great appraiser and a good peer friend of mine. So
wait, he's an appraiser?
Yeah, he's an appraiser and an agent as well.
Oh, he's never mentioned the appraiser part.
He's never mentioned he's an appraiser.
Well, now I just outed him. So have a free for all on him, guys. I just outed him.
He knew better. People know. Now people know. Client Connect. All right. All right. Well, Dan, before we get into all these articles and before we start to dive into the show, would you tell people what this show is actually all about?
You know what? I'd love to. Now, when we started the show, when Ray and I met here on the interwebs, 1964, we met on the interwebs here. I had an idea for a show because I was bearded back then. Because you guys don't know how old I am. I'm pushing 70 years old, but I was bearded back then when I met Ray. I had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
What was that, Dan?
And I'm going to get him today. He's never been on a wild safari retreat. Never. Not once.
Actually, the closest I've come to a safari retreat was at Disney. I don't know. It depends. Like, is it African safari or is it Thai safari? Because we
had Lions Country Safari here by me in Orange County. So I've been on a safari. Technically,
if you're going that light, then I definitely have been on an African or on a safari. It just wasn't an African safari. So I've been in the jungles of Thailand. I've been in the jungles of Central America, viewing some of the tallest waterfalls. But still, one of the most entertaining safaris was at Disney World. It's just right there.
The actual real ones, the most entertaining was actually at Disney World.
There was less bugs. There was a comedic tour guide. Yeah. So,
but what I really noticed is obviously he's a beautifully bearded man. But what I really noticed is that he loves giving value up front to not only his clients but just to humans in general. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as an appraiser.
And one of the things we think is being more is to know what in the world is going on. So hopefully you guys have one place to come, listen to the news, listen to what's going on in the real estate world, and then can depart from here full of wisdom and knowledge about what the market is doing so that you can better counsel your clients. So thank you guys for joining the show. And Dan, Scap, are you ready to get into the headlines?
You know what to do?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I've watched enough of it.
That's my favorite part, is making our guests do that.
So nice.
One day Tom Ferry will be on here and I'm gonna make him do that.
He's gonna do it.
He's gonna be like, oh, okay, here we go.
See,
speaking of here we go.
We're a Mike Ferry brokerage, so I'm gonna get Mike on. Maybe we'll get him on at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, that would be funny.
Maybe we'll get him on at the same time.
All right, so let me share this Chrome tab with you guys. So right as they pop up an ad. Sorry, let me get the ad down. Okay.
Jeez.
So Housing Wire, mortgage applications are up 2.3% with a new record average loan size. So mortgage applications increased 2.3% from the previous week, largely due to strong purchase market, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. The seasonally adjusted purchase index rose 7.9%. That's quite the rise from the previous, while refinance index decreased 3.1%.
Yeah.
So compared to the same week a year ago, mortgage apps overall dropped 37.3%. So it's nothing compared to what it was last January, with a sharp refinance decline, 49.2%. So
well, you could refi at 2%.
Yeah, back then you could. And if you recall, a lot of that traffic that we were experiencing in January of last year was leftover traffic from the stalls that we had in the summer as things shut down. And we were all talking about how it seems like the fall and winter have moved later, or the selling season was still going all the way through. Regarding purchase applications, the average loan size set a record of 418,500. So this is a quote from Joel Kahn. He's the Mortgage Bankers Association economist. He says the continued rise in purchase loan application size is driven by high volume, high home price appreciation, and the lack of housing inventory on the market, especially for entry-level homes. Have you kind of seen that trend locally for you too, Dan? Is that what y'all are going through?
Yeah. Purchase prices. I just got a new buyer yesterday, going through the process, kind of qualifying them or pre-qualifying them over the phone, getting a basic search set up. And I said, all right, well, you're pre-approved. Yes, I'm pre-approved. What are you pre-approved for? 1.2. Okay. And this is in 1.2 million. This is in areas that are typically like when I started working these areas, oh my God, 9 years ago.
Wow. You're old.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I need to have a conversation about that separately. But when we moved out here, it was like 350, 400. Yeah. I would get maybe some 6 and 7s. Now it's like, 1.2 casually. I'm like, oof.
Yeah, casual $1 million house.
Yeah.
So we have seen some massive increases in our area, basically almost doubling of prices in some neighborhoods. But for I was just running the numbers the other day to see where the median was. So, Scap, do you like averages or medians better?
I mean,
as a number guy,
I think medians mostly. I don't really like averaging stuff.
Why do you like medians? Because I'm more of an average guy. Wait, that came out wrong.
Wait, because it's in the middle. So I was looking at the median home prices for our city locally, and they've gone down. But in another market that we're in Northwest Arkansas, the median home prices have continued to increase. But what's interesting is also the days on market in that other city have continued to increase, while the median days on market here locally have continued to stay low. Yeah. So I think in some markets, you're starting to see the price ceiling hit, where you have where affordability and the home prices come together, and that may be increasing the average days on market. But enough of what I'm saying. We actually have someone that's an expert in home values and home appreciation and all this stuff. Mark, what is going on as you are appraising these properties and you see the medians dropping, going up and down in different places, the inventory is still lacking. How are you guys coming up with accurate values when you have multiple offers and people are like $20,000, $50,000, $60,000 over what the real estate agents' comps are?
Well, and wait, before you go, Scott, where are you located and how long have you been doing this?
I'm located in Marietta, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. And I've been actually appraising since I'm going on my 21st year now, actually. Whoa. So I started in New Jersey and then moved down to Florida for like a brief minute. I just got so tired of just not being able to do anything but go to the beach, and moved up to Atlanta. And I've been here since 2007 now.
Wow.
Speaking of grandpa.
That's crash. And that's right, Ray, when you got into real estate, right? 2007, 2008?
2007. Yeah. Right. I was right there.
Okay, cool. That's a brief history. Now we can go to Scap. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, appraising all this stuff, I mean, obviously that's what appraisers do. I mean, we're really looking at the market. We're looking at everything that's to be told. I mean, we're looking to tell a story. So obviously when you're seeing a lot of these homes that are out there that are being, you're getting 20, 30 offers, multiple offers on them. I mean, you got to go by what's sold out there. First off, I mean, I'll look at what is sold. I'll look at the comps out there. And if even, if somebody's going 30 grand over the actual list price, I mean, I think somebody put it best, and I forget who his name was, but he put it best when he said, you're free to pay whatever you want for an asset. Whatever you want to pay, as long as it's your own money, you're free to pay what you want for it. but you're not free to use somebody else's money to actually pay for something. And, that's kind of how I look at things. Like, okay, if you're going to pay cash, go ahead, pay whatever you want to pay for it. That's fine. But my job as an appraiser is to come up with the market value, be the eyes and ears of the lender, and actually, help them assess risk on that property. So when I see these multiple offers coming out, when I see these inflated contracts that are coming my way, or were coming my way, because you're not seeing that much today,
Oh, you muted.
Oh, sorry about that. I want to see what the offers were. I want to see what you have out there, because that's going to help tell me a story a little bit as well. I'm still going to go buy the comps out there. I'm still going to look at what the market's doing. So again, with lack of inventory and things of that nature, I may have to use a comp from 6 months ago or 8 months ago, and then I'm going to look at the market and go, okay, what's this market been doing over the last, year, or last 6 months, or last 3 months? And so say the market's increasing at like 1% per month, and that's what I determine through all my analysis. Well, I can now justify making an adjustment on that older sale to bring it to what the current value would be today.
Oh, wow.
So I'm looking at that. But now when you go back to these multiple offers, I want to see them, because as appraisers, a lot of people will say, hey, it's the value of a house is what a willing buyer and a willing seller are willing to participate in, and willing to accept, and willing to purchase. Okay, I get that. But as appraisers, we're looking more at what the actual, what, how do I say it? What the general public is looking at. So if you have, say you have 20 offers, okay, on a house, and you listed it at 500,000, and most of your offers are coming in at 505, 510, 515, somewhere around there. And then you have that one outlier, or those two outliers of, hey, I'm willing to pay $530,000 for this house. Well, I mean, is that really what the house is worth, to everybody else out there? No, it's worth to that one person. So you kind of got to decipher it. And that's what we do as appraisers. We're trying to analyze every little piece of data we can to determine what the adjustments should be, and determine what that market value of that house is. So again, going back to multiple offers and listings, I'm going to look at those pending sales that are out there, because those are going to tell me a story of where that market's going. So now we're seeing a lot of stuff here in Atlanta where you were just talking about days on market are starting to rise a little bit in most areas. And right. I'm seeing a lot of listings that are being reduced after 7 days, 10 days, whatever it is. So we're starting to see that curve. Yeah. And then you just see that one house out there that's under contract for way above what everything else in the that's either on the market, and you kind of just have to shake your head and look at it as like, well, that could be an outlier. I mean, I need to know what were the specifics. I don't appraise motivations, and I don't appraise people's, aspirations. That's not what I do.
So if someone is in a situation in which they have a house and they, had multiple offer situations, and they've got several offers kind of about the same price, your suggestion to that real estate agent would be to turn those into the appraiser too, and let them know, like, hey, there are 3 or 4 offers about this price, even though it was above what I listed it for. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's more data for me to look at. That will help me to possibly determine and look at, okay, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. And the majority of the people are looking, they think this house is worth X amount. So that might help me determine, when I'm doing my appraisal and I come up with my adjusted range of value, that might help me determine hey, I'm going to go towards the high side here, because this market's increasing. There's lots of offers on this property. So I'm going to go to the high side. Am I going to hit that number that they're looking at? I don't know. I mean, maybe not, because I'm using all the data that I have available to me. So yeah, those do help me to kind of paint a picture of what's going on out there in the market area.
Well, and what do you as a listing agent too, we got to remember, like, it's good to send those over, but if you get that one outlier, like everything's at 500, you're listed at 500, you get 505, 510, 512, and then you get the 530. It's like, as a listing agent, you got to, like, will this really appraise? Like, yes, I can send, hey, we got other, but if I send these other offers over and say everything else came in under 515, this one's 15 grand above that. Is it going to really appraise, or are they just trying to get into escrow and then hopefully negotiate it down when it doesn't appraise? Like, you have to remember that as a listing agent. It's great to say, hey, I got the highest price in the last 10 years for this house. But your goal is ultimately, that buyer's agent wants to they want to buy a house, and as a listing agent, you want to sell the house. So your goal is ultimately you got to get through this transaction. So getting these high offers is great, but if you get that one outlier, is that really the best offer to take? Now, if there's stuff over 520 and then that one's at 530, then hey, send those other 5. Hey, we had a lot close to this 530. So here's your 530, but here's 5 others that suggested 530 is not such an outlier. But if it's a big outlier, you really have to have that conversation with your client. Like, hey, it's great we got this offer, but it's arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything unless it can actually appraise. And I don't know if it will.
Yeah, that's a valid point too. And another things we're seeing with the another thing we were seeing with new builds is that they started that build 8 months ago, and they finished the build, and their prices at the time they ordered the package was $1,600 per board foot for the framing package. And then they're trying to, they want to pass that off onto the client. So I don't know if you've seen this a lot, Scap, but we do see builder contracts. They'll say, okay, well, you can buy this house for $400,000, but in 8 months, if the market has adjusted prices, this will be the new price for the house, $420,000. It's just because materials prices have gone up. Are you seeing a lot of those type of contracts, or is it pretty few far between? What's it like for you?
I mean, pretty far in between, but I have seen contracts with new builds where, again, they went under contract, maybe, 8 months ago. And I get that contract in hand. I do my appraisal. And it just happened to me where I did my appraisal based upon that contract price. And yeah, I was actually a little bit above it. And I was very happy with what I did. I sent it in, and I only to get a nice reconsideration of value where they said, oh, by the way, the price went up. That's the wrong purchase price. The seller decided, 2 months ago to do all these add-ons and everything and whatnot. And basically I had the wrong contract. So now I had to go back to square one again. And let's just say that didn't work out too well.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like, okay, you've got this value, but actually the price is up. So can you get us this value now?
Well, Adam Johnson says it. Hey, 2 words an appraiser never said in history is I'm wrong. But
that is actually incorrect. I could swear by that is incorrect because I know that I've said it and I know other people that have said it as well. We try to strive not to be wrong.
Right.
And it hurts our pride to say it. But yes, there are appraisers out there that will admit when they're wrong.
But when something got into escrow 8 months ago and they didn't give you an updated contract and the builder decided to change things and add value and they don't let you know, you're not wrong. They're wrong.
They're wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So we could keep you all day talking about the intricacies of this stuff, and I think we might. But first, let's talk about what's happening. So we heard earlier that the mortgage applications have increased. This is another story kind of around the same topic, that home buyers are rushing to get into mortgages before higher rates price them out. Now, for those of you who are fans of the show that have been with us for a long time, you've heard us predict this exact thing. As rates increase, we anticipate a flux of buyers who would be coming into the market to take advantage of the still low rates. And I think last week they were talking about high mortgage rates have scared buyers into the market. And we were thinking, well, the inverse of this is, hey, buyers are excited to purchase while rates are still low. So it doesn't always have to be a scary headline, but it does get
well. And remember, I hit, what was it, sometime in 2019, we went back where we were over 4, right? I think.
Yeah.
And then last time we were over 5 was 2009 or 11. I forgot. I think it's 2011.
Yeah.
Like it's been a long time since we've been anywhere near 5. But that last article said interest rates will increase through 2022, but will still be close to record lows. And the MBA forecasts that 30-year mortgage rates will reach 4% by the end of this year. So someone's prediction might be right.
Yeah, you did predict that. I predicted like a 3.6 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but
which we're at right now. We're at 3.64 right now.
Really?
Oh, so you're right. If you were predicting January, you're right.
Just 1 month. I'm 11 months off. Okay. So mortgage rates are rushing higher, and last week caused a major divergence in the mortgage demand. Refinancing continued to dry up, but home buyers appear to be rushing into the market. As a result, mortgage application volume rose 2.3%, which we just kind of talked about. The other part on this is the other quote from Joel Kahn I wanted to bring to light. It said mortgage rates hit their highest levels since March 2020. Leading to the slowest pace for refinance activity in over 2 years. FHA and VA refinance declines drove most of the refinance slowdown. So that's interesting. Conventional mortgages are still being refied. Mortgage applications from homebuyers jumped 8% for the week, though they're still 13% lower than the same week a year ago.
Which I think is all expected. I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's looking at this going, what? So.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
Hey, so on the VA, the VA refinances,
yeah,
they're probably slowing down because we had so many of them.
It's a little low.
Last year and a half. And you have to have when you do a refi with the VA, whether it's the interest rate reduction on or just a regular refi where you see the cash out, you have to have a recoupment rate. So they probably just max that out where you're not able to lower the rate. Plus the rates have gone up. But, your recoupment rate is probably squeezed out any of those refis now.
Interesting. Thank you, Andy.
He's a little mushy, but I don't know if he's on speaker or what, but I think
it's a cell signal a little bit. He's coming through Clubhouse, and sometimes a cell signal will kind of get you. But I think we still heard you. Your wife, Andy, isn't she like a VA mortgage expert?
Yeah. So she works at the VA. It's a regional center, and she is an underwriter. So
I just wanted to give people a context to where your advice is coming from.
Yeah.
He sleeps with a key individual from the VA.
Well, I think you could say that. Well, that's incendiary.
Yes. Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the insider info. Literally.
Yeah. Oh, the sweet nothing.
Say that again.
I said, oh, the sweet nothings.
Oh, the sweet nothings. She whispers in your ear, the reason why the VA slowed down.
Yeah.
VA mortgage applications rose this week.
Talk about a realtor joke. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's right. That's the whenever you see like a husband and wife team where one of them's a realtor and the other one's a lender, like always kind of anticipate those conversations. Like, I got a new. Did you get me that pre-approval? he's got great credit, great income. D says Ray's rated R. That's funny. That's hilarious. So my friend Phil started this show called PG, and he went after his name, Phil Gertis. I was like, oh, I should start a show called Rated R. It's like, oh wait, no, that's not going to play well. All right, so let's go to there's some circles that would play real well. Let's go to the next one. This one is about builder confidence. So if you guys look around, one of the things you'll note is that we don't have much inventory. And whenever we don't have much inventory, historically, that's been a good time to build. And just to bring people up to speed on like the history of these numbers and what we're looking at, anything above 50 is considered positive. However, it's been over 50 ever since we've started the show. I don't think it's dipped below 50 at all. It's got down into the 50s, I think, maybe into the low 60s.
I think it got to 62 or something, 67. I don't know.
Yeah. And so it's been above 50 since we started the show. But to further talk about kind of what's happening in the marketplace, as you're looking at your own supply in your own market, when the supply gets to like 2 months, that is a number in which builders start to have trouble keeping up with what they need to do in order to build to satisfy the buyer demand. And way back in the day, what you were talking about earlier, Dan, back in 2007, 2008, and 2009, there was a situation in which the subprime mortgage lending crisis happened, and a lot of builders went belly up, and they had, 10, 12, 13 spec homes that were already being built. They could no longer hold, some of them even more. And we never really got back to the level of production that we were pre-crash. Then in, what was it, the January of 2000 and was that 19? 2020. Yeah, 2019. We've been dealing with this stuff for a long time now. It was 2020. January of 2020. It was December of 2019. They released numbers that said that the housing starts were up 13%. And we covered that on our show. And when we did, me and Dan were celebrating, saying, oh, great, 13%. I mean, housing starts are up. Builder confidence was up. It was in the 70s. And it looks like we were about to solve the supply issue. You remember that, Dan?
Yeah. It felt like a positive for the first time since we had done the show, since Ray and I had started talking about it.
Right. And then we had this little thing happen, the Rona Pandy, which we don't say the full words on the show in case they're still censoring. And as that happened, all the builders pulled back, everything pulled back, and we still have not recovered. So as you're looking at months of supply in your own area, if you're below 2%, builders are already having, or 2 months, if you're below 2 months, builders are already having a trouble keeping up with the demand. In one of our neighborhoods, I just calculated yesterday, we're at 1 week of supply.
Yeah, but I did a search and posted about it on Instagram. We have a 10-mile radius. So I usually do the city, but I did a 10-mile radius, which covers quite a few cities. 12 days of supply.
12 days of supply there too. So there's not much supply going around. So that you would think like, oh, wow, with not much supply, builders can just build as fast as possible. And we talked a little bit about this last week, but I want to bring up this article. Home builder confidence drops for the first time in 4 months as inflation hits materials. So we've been talking a lot about materials prices and the price per board foot and how it got up to $1,600 when around $200 to $300 was kind of normal. Builders in the single family market are facing growing expenses, which are causing a turnaround in sentiment to start the year. Builder confidence fell 1 point to
it. It's at
wow.
90.
You would think it's a pretty low number with the way the headline started and the situation that we're looking at. I mean, you would assume that this number that this dropped to is pretty low.
It dropped into the 40s.
The number of points that it dropped is fairly significant too.
Right.
So let's look at this one more time. What was the number? Builders in the single family housing market are facing growing expenses, a sentiment to start the year. Builder confidence fell 1 point to 83 in January. 83. According to the National Association of Home Builders, Wells Fargo Housing Market Index, anything above 50 is considered positive, but that's the first drop in 4 months. The index stood at 83 in January of 2021. Higher material cost, and that's the same number. Higher material cost and the lack of availability are adding to weeks to typical single-family construction time, said NAHB Chairman Chuck Folk, a home builder from Tampa, Florida. NAHB analysis indicates that the aggregate of cost of residential construction materials has increased almost 19% since December of 2020. And that's part of what we were talking about earlier with the adjustments on new construction and how they're adjusting for this as a whole. But it goes into the details about the stuff that we've already covered on the show. The lumber and softwoods and prices for other materials, gypsum and steel are now also higher. Concrete's higher. There was a stint in the summer, I think, when it did dip all the way down to like 82 or whatever, that we couldn't get paint. Y'all remember that when paint was short and there were houses being built and you're just waiting on paint. So, we've experienced the supply woes, but in your industry, Scap, how are you guys accounting for those situations? We talked last week, I don't know if you saw it, where homes were being closed that weren't finished. So they're having to make adjustments somehow. How does an appraiser be okay with that?
Okay, so you have a house that's not finished and they closed on it.
Yeah, a house that's not finished, but everyone wants to go ahead and close. The buyers want to go ahead and move in. The stuff that's not finished, or maybe cosmetic, or fences, or windows, or doors. And so you just have a temporary door, temporary windows. You have all that kind of stuff in there.
I hope they're getting a darn price reduction on their contract that they signed. If that's the case, hopefully
the stuff's going to come in later. They say it'll come 14 weeks. The window will be there.
Well, and it's going to, as far as appraising, I've appraised homes that haven't been finished before. It's going to depend on the type of loan that you're also getting as well. If it's an FHA loan, that ain't happening. I'm sorry. It's just not going to fly with them. Things have to be done and things have to be finished in order for them to lend you on that. They are very picky. I got to go back out just to make sure that, a piece of wood was, installed properly before the house is finished. But conventional wise,
wait. So in those situations, you've had to go back out to a house after close to sign off and say, yeah, that piece of wood's there.
Yeah. If it's like a deck or something like that, I got to make sure that they want everything, to make sure the house is complete and everyth's done. That's kind of going a little overboard, but it's like just take, for instance, a deck that's not finished or not sealed properly after they put it on there, or maybe there's something that's just not finished painting wise or a missing piece of siding or something. yeah, I still have to go back out and reinspect that to make sure that the house is actually complete. They get the certificate of occupancy and all that. And FHA, yeah, I mean, that's why FHA
I've had
takes a long
light
time.
switch covers called out that they had to go back out for. Well, on one of my listings now, chipping paint was called out. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, D. Jones says buyer signs an affidavit to get back out there. New construction of FHA 203K, says Adam. So Adam brings up a good point on the builders stuff too. He says, I don't know builders that are making less money per house than they were in the last 2 or 3 years. Buyers have been absorbing all the cost plus more. You are correct if they construct the contract correctly and if they accept the offer at the right time. That I have heard a couple of different situations in which the builder brought money to close because they accepted the contract too early in the build. Not everything was ordered or finished. They wound up finishing everything. It came out to be much more, but the buyer's price was the buyer's price. So yeah, I've heard a couple of situations like that. So they just have to be careful. As long as they're careful and not doing those kinds of things, I think they are coming out right. Matt LaMarche, he's a real estate agent from Atlanta. He says, who is the beardless dude? I have Matt to thank for the introduction. Matt used to run a clubhouse room. I think it was about modding or something like that. And then Scap came in there and they were talking about cars and all kinds of stuff. So that's where I first met Scap. So there you go. Then he says, just kidding. Scap's a real deal. Okay. Debbie Miller talks about solar. She says, we own a solar company and some of the materials have gone up 60%, as well as the difficulty in getting product like battery backups. One of the other things we talked about last week again was the red tape that builders have to go through by the time they get approvals to do what they needed to do. Prices have already increased on all the materials, the concrete, whatever. And so now, yeah, they've got the okay to build and to put in the slab, but the slab's gone up 15%. So
right.
We're seeing a lot of that stuff.
And by the way, I did a little quick research. So I found an actual full history of the confidence. So the HMI Home Builder Index, what's it called?
Yeah. Home Builders
all the way back to 1985. And I think that's when it started. So it started at 50, went up, stayed in the 40s, the 20s, and the 90s, got up to 60, 75, and 99. Hits the highest before the crash was 70, and then in 2009 it went down to 8.
Whoa!
Home builder.
So this is interesting. The only time the builder's confidence index was higher was right before the crash.
Yeah, that's a good headline right there. So yeah, it was 70, and then 2006 it went down 57, 35 in 2007, 19 in 2008, 8 in 2009. Then it's slowly gone up, and it's been above 50 since middle of 2014. It's been above 50.
Yeah.
Last time we got, since we've been in the show, the lowest we've seen is
72.
72 is the beginning of 2018.
I remember 72. I remember
68,
72.
69 is when we started the show at the end of 2017. So, and we're at 83 right now, but there's these headlines that say, oh my God.
Builder's confidence index. It
drops.
drops.
There you go, right there. Get that comment right there from Malarsh. Boom.
Malarsh.
Referral. Boom.
Thanks for the referral, Ludwig. I should, we don't mention that enough, but the folks that kind of interact with the show and the program, there are some referrals that are passed back and forth. So be sure you're commenting and interacting and stuff like that. Cause I've had a couple of agents tell me that they called somebody because they saw them comment on our show. So, wow, you should tell that to more people.
Yeah. And I not to offend, cause I know we have a lot of Georgia peeps, but he just happens to work the area that I needed. So it's not because anything against Julie Moon, nothing against
whatever. Glenda Baker is going to be coming after you, sir.
Glenda Baker, you're all on my list to call. Malarsh just happens to work this area. That's all. And I get to call him Malarsh.
There you go.
Hey, I just want to point out there and answer this question that I see there from Adam Johnson, where he said no beard, but he probably has back hair. I'm gonna let you know right now, Adam. I'm gonna play your game. I'm gonna let you know right now that I do have spottiness on the back, and I do shave it. So let's just get that out in the open right now. Okay, so you are right. I'm gonna give you props on that one.
Confession. Appraisers are always accurate.
That's right.
Accuracy.
You guys sponsored by Manscaped?
No, not yet. So this is funny. Was that Ron or was that? Oh, that was Andy. So I'm not going to tell what the company was, but there was a company that wanted us to talk about them on the show.
Wanted to be a sponsor.
And it was a Manscaped type company, but I guess the ad that they wanted to place on our show had a little to do with the fuzz off of tennis balls. So we'll just leave it there.
It was a little too specific. It was
too
Yeah.
much. That's too much. Vince says, and he takes pedicures. Oh, really?
Where do you think I'm going after this for my birthday? I'm going to get a pedicure.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Happy birthday.
By the way, happy birthday, Scott.
Yeah. Let's see.
Julie, no, it's not because you don't have a beard. No. No, don't worry. I got you. I got one. I reached out to him and he happens to work this area. That's it. I promise.
Jason Bates wants to call you Patches.
There you go. No more scap. It's just Patches.
No more Patches. All right. So let's go to the sex article too. This one is, that's the same one. Wait, hang on. Is that the same one?
There was an Inman one, but we don't need to hit it. We're good.
No. We went to the Inman one, but it's kind of the same information. All right, there it is. Oh, so the article is not found. Hang on. All right, there it is. Forbearance rate. Forbearance rate dropped below 1.5%. So servicers' forbearance portfolio volume dropped in December to a level below 1.5% for the first time in 18 months. The total number of loans in forbearance decreased 26 basis points to 1.41% in December from 1.67% in November, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. The most notable decline was in the portfolio loans and private labeled securities, the PLS category, dipping 51 basis points to 3.3. Let me skip some of this so we can talk about kind of what it means. This is a quote from Walsh. Marina Walsh, she's MBA's Vice President of Industry Analysis. So she said it is likely that remaining borrowers in forbearance have experienced either a permanent hardship or may require more complex loan workout solutions, or they've encountered a recent hardship, which they're now seeking relief. During the last 18 months, MBA's data revealed that 29.1% of exits resulted in a loan deferral or partial claim. Also, 19.5% represented borrowers who continued to pay during the forbearance period. However, 16.9% were borrowers who did not make their monthly payments and did not have a loss mitigation plan. And we know that the government's been all over them saying you have to have mitigation, you have to have loss mitigation. We talked about the various ways in which people could mitigate those losses. But Scap, every time we talk about this, you also DM me and you're like, yeah, I've seen an increase in the number of pre-foreclosure appraisals and things like that you do. Are those, whenever someone calls you for that, like an opinion value or an appraisal on those properties, is it because they're going to foreclose, or are they doing that for loan modifications as well?
I don't know their exact reasons. Most, that's beyond my pay grade. They're just sending me over the order, and it just says, for what they're looking to get done. And typically these are just drive-bys. You can't get into the house because the people are, maybe they're not paying and they're angry, and I don't want to be chased around or anything. So do a drive-by, just give them a general idea of what the actual, the value is, or give them kind of a range and everything of what they're working with, because they're either preparing for foreclosure, or they're just trying to figure out maybe modifications, whatever. That's on their side. I get the orders and I just go with it.
So whenever just because you're doing the appraisal doesn't mean they're about to hit foreclosure. D. Jones says most servicers do BPOs due to delinquency. So I used to do back in the day. Here's a tip for a brand new agent. You want to make a little bit of money and get to know the market? Sign up to do BPOs. When I first signed up to do a BPO, I would get $50 to go drive by and tell them what my opinion of value was for the property. And what was funny,
what does BPO stand for?
Broker price opinion. So do y'all have that in Cali? So we have an actual form to fill out to give them broker price opinion. And by the time I ended, so I did that for like a year and a half. And by the time I ended, I was getting almost $400 per BPO. So I figured it out. Like once the banks really liked my BPOs, I was signing up for a whole bunch of them. And once they liked them and all the extra data I was giving them, they would ask me to do one. I'd say no. And they'd say, well, would you do it for 75? I'd be like, okay. No. And then the next time they'd say, hey, do this one for 75. I'd be like, no. Would you do it for 100? Like, okay. And so I just slowly like went up and up and up. It was pretty funny. Debbie Rice Miller says, BPOs and repping REO banks, boy, bye. So no, Vince said BPO
boy,
equals
bye
zero.
On our show.
That's what Debbie said, boy, bye. So no, that was an easy way to make a couple $100 here and there and keep things afloat if you needed to. But I learned the market like crazy, and I got really good at my CMA skills. So I could tell people, oh, this is about what it would sell for, and it would sell for that. So if you're a new agent, you want to make a couple $100 here and there, there's an easy way to do it. BPOs. So anyway, back on the topic, whenever you get those opinion orders, you're just basically telling them, hey, this is what I think it would sell for. And you don't really know where it goes after that. If they do foreclose, a lot of times there's months and months and months of a process that they have to go through. And with the market moving so fast, do you ever get called out to update that value, or do they just go off of what you originally sent 6 months ago?
No, they'll redo it. I mean, if they have to continue with the case, whatever they're working with, I mean, if it's 6 months later, they're probably going to get you to go out and do another one. When I was doing back when the crash happened, I was doing a ton of foreclosure work for Fannie Mae, and I mean, I was getting 10 orders a day, just come every day, just to keep going out there and doing foreclosure appraisals and go out to these houses. So sometimes you get them, like I said, sometimes you get them so that they can kind of check to see what's going on. Plus I'm kind of like checking to see if the people are there still or whatever. Then they may come back, a couple months later and order a full appraisal for you to go out and actually, once they get the people out of the house and they take it over, to do an appraisal on that so they can find out what the actual value is, with a more in-depth appraisal.
So you heard it here first, folks. The market is not going to crash because SCAP is not getting the same kind of orders he did before the crash.
There you go. The last time SCAP got orders of this magnitude was pre-crash. I mean, you'd have to say that's true because it's how long before the crash, right? Jason Bates with a good question. Is it true that appraisers are selective in the orders they accept? I've been told some appraisers are accepting purchases and only doing refis. Not accepting purchases and only doing refis.
I mean, it depends on how busy they are, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess, what they do is they put it in a third party system, right? And you can look through and see where the orders are. And you choose which ones you want to take, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on who it is. I mean, and who the lender is, what AMC they're using. Okay. AMC equals appraisal management company. So depends on what they do and what the fee they're offering and where it is. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. So, I turn down orders all the time. I mean, there's lots of AMCs. I think there's 180 AMCs registered here in the state of Georgia.
Wow.
I work for one. So all the 179 other ones out there that are sending orders, I'm not seeing those orders, or I'm just turning them down because I choose not to work with that company or that client, for various reasons, whether it's fees, whether it's, just how they do work, their scope of work, how they treat me, how they pay. So, I've narrowed it down and gotten my business more private side. So I'm doing more of the, of private work for, guys like you, agents, divorce cases, litigation, stuff like that. So appraisers really are out there picking and choosing, the orders that they want. I mean, if the fee is not high enough, if it doesn't really jive with them to drive into a rural area for $300 to do a huge property on 10 acres, well, yeah, obviously they're not going to take that order. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of appraisers during this boom that we had with purchases. There was a lot of appraisers that, just determined, I'm just going to do refis right now because I can't keep track of all what's going on here. And I just don't have the time and effort to be out there rushing to get these jobs done, So, I mean, as an independent appraiser, you can select what your jobs are that you want to do. You run your own business. Now if you're a staff appraiser working for an AMC or for a lender, you really don't get that opportunity to just pick and choose. Here's your order and go do it.
Oh, interesting. So a staff appraiser can actually work for an AMC, and then that's just an employee, and they just go out and do it.
Yes,
that is really interesting. Yeah, it's kind of this. It was kind of similar with the BPOs. It was like this little back end system, and they would say, "Here's the addresses we need," and you could select the ones you wanted, and then you wait for confirmation. You got confirmation, you go do it, and then you upload everything. It was pretty. I think it sounds very similar to what the AMC is doing.
Yeah.
Except I was just a lowly agent. Julie, a lowly poor agent at the time. Julie said, our great local appraisers are so busy that many of our orders will get sent to appraisers an hour away, particularly for buyers using a local lender. Yeah.
See, that part's
sometimes
crazy.
It's very advantageous. Sometimes it runs the appraisal.
Yeah, well, you can't do that. You got to know an area. You really do. It's here in California, Southern California. areas change real quick. And if you don't know certain things about an area, especially when you go to LA's, you got to know it, man. Because if you don't, there's certain corridors that are worth more, some that are worth less, types of upgrades, what materials they used, if it's a flip, like you got to really know it. If you're coming from non-LA territory to do an LA appraisal, you better watch out, because you are going to get
we have something that's called USPAP, the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. It's the appraiser Bible, and part of that is having geographical competency. So you don't, I mean, a lot of people get the mistake that, okay, you need to be local to that area. Well, that's kind of not true. You can gain competency in other areas by doing work and by understanding it, the market, and really researching it. So here in Georgia, I stopped doing a lot of work inside the city limits. I live just outside the city, so I stopped going in the city. I'm concentrating more on the outskirts now, and I cover like 6 counties, but I can get through those counties like pretty quickly here in Georgia. So I have a broader area that I'm covering, but I've actually also done the research and done enough work there to understand what those markets are. Having somebody come from South Georgia up to Atlanta, that's going to be an issue.
When ethically, these counties, it's the same thing when I take a referral. I have a big net that I work because I used to live in Hollywood, in LA. So if I know those areas, I'll take the referral, and it is 45, 50 miles away from me. But if I don't know the area, I'll pass it on, because it's not good for that client, seller or buyer. It's just not good for that client. Ethically, there's this whole thing, ethics in our business.
I'm gonna add another caveat here for you guys on this, because when the AMCs came into place after the crash, when HVCC came into play, now known as Dodd-Frank, basically, for most that don't know, I had all my clients that I would actually solicit and everything, and I would get their business and keep them happy. And then 2009, overnight, I lost all those clients. I lost the ability to even talk to them. So when the AMCs came into play, they kind of leveled the field, where it was now, you could have been a 30-year appraiser, or you could be brand new, just licensed yesterday, and you're considered equal. Okay. So one has more knowledge and experience, one doesn't, but you're considered equal now. And what was happening, the way that these AMCs get paid and take some money off the top of those fees that they're charging out there, and then paying an appraiser, you had a lot of appraisers that were looking for a lot of work. And if they were in a small area, they had to start expanding out to get a lot of this work. So you were seeing a lot of inexperienced appraisers coming from, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours away to do all this work. And whether they have competency or not, I don't know. I hope they did. But that's what you were seeing with this problem with the AMCs and how things started. But it's kind of, getting a little bit better now. But you just got to know, you got to know what you're dealing with. You just can't just travel all over the place.
I think this was the reason behind Jason's original question. He said I had a buyer pay $3,200 for an appraisal on a 3,000 square foot home, sales price of 1.1 million. Seems to be some gouging going on because too fewer appraisers are accepting orders. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, there you go. So that enough of that stuff gets public, and then you have people rushing to become an appraiser instead of real estate agent.
well, let me clarify something on his post there. That $3,200, I guarantee you, did not all go to the appraiser. I'm going to tell you that right now. If they went through an AMC, I've seen out there, and this was going back a couple years, but it kind of still stands, tall today, that there were AMCs charging a borrower like $1,000 for an appraisal. I think it was in Seattle. I saw it, but it was $1,000 for the appraisal. And they paid the appraiser $400 and pocketed $600 for doing nothing other than just managing the order. So what a lot of these states don't have disclosures where you disclose how much each party's being paid. Some of them do. In the state of Georgia, I have to disclose what I'm being paid, but I don't have to disclose anything else. But you can kind of figure out the math yourself. However, I guarantee you $3,200, maybe it was a rush job. Maybe the appraiser said, hey, I'm going to do it for $2,000 because it's a rush job on a $1.1 million house. And the rest of that money went to the AMC. That's probably what happened.
Well, that's kind of like that's how I was able to increase the BPO fees. Just saying, no, give me more. I have no idea what they were charging for the BPO. All right. So speaking of mortgages, loans, all this stuff, this is an interesting thing that's going on.
Oh, wait, Milo, before we go, I want to share. Remember that insider info that I shared, Ray?
Yes.
On the foreclosures. I can't reveal my source, but these are industry insiders it was a Zoom call. So there were 250,000 loans in foreclosure prior to the Rona. Most of them were still outstanding on July 31st, so of 2021. Less than 1 million loans were in forbearance with an 83% success rate at exit, meaning that about 170,000 are most vulnerable.
Oh, your camera blinked off.
Oh, I know. I tried to tell you. Hold on. Let me do it.
That's okay. So this is key info. I want you to review the last number when you come back after your camera's reset.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right.
I try to do it when the camera's off or when someone's on me, but people like to see my face apparently. So 170,000 are the most vulnerable. The rate entering the Rona was 0.6% of loans in foreclosure, or 300,000. Okay, so if all, and I'm going to get to that last number where I see what you're saying. If all of the loans defaulted, there would be roughly 720,000 loans in foreclosure, or less than 1.4% of total loans. The Great Recession foreclosure rates peaked at 4%. We're not even close to that.
Not even close.
Not even close. And you're not seeing any stories about that number right there. Great Recession foreclosure rates peaked at 4%. We're not anywhere near that. And you're not seeing any stories about that. But scroll through real estate videos on YouTube. You'll see tons and tons and tons of we're going to crash. We're going to crash it. Are these rates enough to crash the market? Is housing going to crash in 2022? We're not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even that. It's two different circumstances. The Great Recession was caused by different factors than what we're in right now.
Yeah.
Exactly what they want you to believe, Scab.
Yeah. You're buying into it. Yeah. So sorry. I didn't want to.
Yeah, no.
I just want to
That's good.
On clickbait.
Oh, sorry. Wow. That's pretty loud. So I don't know how to, that's a spammer just called me. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know it's already on the moon. So I turned my moon on, as Mia said last time. All right. So Milo launches a crypto mortgage product. Clients can finance 100% of their purchase. Milo is a Miami-based digital lender who will soon offer a crypto mortgage to clients with digital assets. And the company claims there's already a wait list for the product. Yeah, I bet there's a wait list for the product. According to Milo's press release, clients can use the company services to pledge their Bitcoin to purchase a property. The company notes that this way, home buyers can continue their own Bitcoin and diversify into real estate while potentially pocketing the price appreciation of both.
My first question is, can I leverage my NFTs as collateral for my crypto purchase?
Yeah. It said clients will be able to finance 100% of the purchase to do this faster than a conventional mortgage. The company said by combining the security of real estate with liquidity of digital assets, Milo can bridge both the crypto and the real world. So this is really cool. We've been talking about crypto and stuff for a long time. We even had a little episode that we spent like 2 minutes explaining how Bitcoin works and then thought, well, that was enough of that. But the big question,
talked about some loans that have closed. It mentions it in this article.
Yeah.
Some loans have closed with crypto.
Yep. Yeah. And we've been asking a lot is, okay, how will Bitcoin shape the industry? How will it change the industry? And a lot of people refer to the blockchain of, without, it's basically easier to prove ownership, right? So, everything, where the money came from, how the money got there, why the money's there. And so the fact that it's there, you can make your loans faster against it, I think is what this company is betting on. So that could open up a whole slew of home buyers that don't want to pull their money out of Bitcoin, want to make a move. And this is really interesting because one of the points it makes is that they can take advantage of the appreciation of both. And I think there have been loans against stock portfolios and things like that in the past. Like, that's something you could do now, is take a loan against your retirements or take a loan against your different, I'm obviously not a securities advisor, so don't take my stock advice, but you could take loans out against your portfolio. Now it's kind of the same thing. They're just using Bitcoin as that portfolio. Matt Lamar says, here too. Wow. What a great show. Cash App, Dan Ludwig. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I'll
cover it earlier. At the end, I'll cover where you can find me on Cash App.
Yeah, I should have mentioned earlier. Curtis Wentworth said, "Hi, sincerely, I'm a Larsh fan." So thanks, Curtis, for joining the show. So I just wanted to mention that. So short. I guess Milo would probably have similar appraisal rules and guidelines because they're a lender and they're loaning against a Bitcoin portfolio, but they would want the appraisal of they'd have to check out the money, and then they'd want the appraisal of the property similar to any other loan, I guess.
As long as they're good with where the quote unquote money is coming from, isn't that okay? Like they're the lender, right?
Yeah.
As long as they see the value.
Ray, I've got some thoughts on that.
Is that Ron Bruno?
It is.
Okay. So, all right. So hold your thoughts for just a half second, because I want to bring in the article that you gave me too. And I have that somewhere on my desk.
And I have some questions too. So my main questions are the appraisers, title companies, lawyers, and escrow companies ready for this? Like, is there any changes for them, or is it all just, hey, if you're using this, if the lender says it's cool, it's cool?
I mean, I don't think it would. I mean, what form of money it is, I don't think that really should change how you go about appraising something or how you go about your business. I mean, you still want to know market value or still assess your risk or whatever. I mean, maybe you don't. Maybe with Bitcoin, you just don't care what the house is worth or what somebody wants to give you for it. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's all new to everybody out there, and it's new to appraisers.
So
yeah, I got $5 million in ethereal money. Let's spend $1 million of it on a house. Sure.
Vince said there's no secondary market for Bitcoin mortgages yet. Vince, there could be.
Dude, they're selling NFTs for millions, and they're selling virtual real estate now. So there's going to be a secondary market.
So the other article that Ron sent me was one I wanted to mention too. It says, remember mortgage rates in the 2s? They're closer to 4 now. It's a good article from Mortgage News Daily. You guys can look it up. Matthew Graham wrote it, but I love this chart at the bottom, because this is what we've been verbally talking about as we start talking about mortgages. You see the 1 year in 3/22/21, it got up to 3.43, and now it's all the way up to what 3.7.
Yeah.
And if so, that's interesting. But when you look at the 5 year, you really see the trend has been down, and then a pretty big spike up recently. And then we see the max. So the max was 18.45% October of 1981. And then it's all the way down here. So my question for Ron, I guess, is a two-parter. And since you're joining us on Clubhouse, I'll kind of let you take the wheel, Ron. But whenever you're looking at a Bitcoin portfolio in order to make that loan, what interest rates are you looking at? Is that a crazy high interest rates because they're going to take advantage of both appreciations, or are you measuring more for risk in the volatility of a Bitcoin portfolio? So it's a super high one, or are you giving them a better deal because you know both will appreciate? What's your take, Ron?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Everybody out there, remember to check on your lenders. They're not okay. The MBA, so the Mortgage Bankers Association, projected that rates would be at 4 by the end of the year, and we're almost there, right? And the year just started.
Do you think now the Fed announced, I guess it was the end of the year last year, that there will be likely 3 rate increases? Do you think this kind of pulls that expectation back a little bit?
Well, so there's 2 major factors, right? So number one, in October of last year, we printed 6.2% inflation, right? And then the next month, they printed 7% inflation, and they removed the word transitory when it came to inflation. So initially, it was thought that, we have this blip on the screen because everybody's out traveling because of, the Rona blip and everything else. So people are going out, gas prices are up, and it's just temporary. That's not temporary anymore. It's here to stay. So the Fed doesn't want to, turn into Venezuela, right? So we just have rampant inflation. So what they're doing is they are starting to consider raising the Fed funds rate. And they projected they were going to start raising it 3 times a year. On top of that, they're also cutting back on the purchases of mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. And the last time they did this tapering, it took 4 years, right? It ended in 2017. Yeah. They're now cutting it back in 6 months. So they're slamming the brakes on that whole program. So you combine those 2 factors with all of the bond traders getting out of this market entirely and expecting higher inflation, and it's causing interest rates to go through the roof. So that is what's already happened in the past 2 weeks. So the rates really have gone from 3.25 to 3.75, right? That's what's happened. So the key in what I'm sharing with my clients as well as with agents, is now's the time to check in with your clients and reset those expectations and let them know this is why these things are happening. On top of that, you also have the second home market and high balance loans that have just been dealt with Fannie and Freddie a loan level pricing adjustment, which means rates are higher. So I have a buyer that is looking in Texas. They have a home in California, but they want to move, to family and have a house here close to family. And their rate was going to, 3.625. And if they don't close their home or they don't lock in their rate by February 1st, it's now 4.375 with a point.
Wow.
Right. And 1 point is equal to 1% of the loan amount. Right. So their monthly payment is going up significantly if they can't lock this in. And that's across the board. So it's a little bit of a challenging time, but it presents opportunity. Right. So that's the real key. So just wanted to share that part of it. As far as crypto, when it comes to crypto, it used to be you had to make sure that you sold your crypto. If you're going to use it for a down payment or closing costs, you had to sell it prior to even looking at going into a home buying process.
Yeah,
you had to have that money.
Yeah,
you had to cash it out, right? But now, because there are exchanges and different, Coinbase, all those different types of online places that hold the money, they're now recognizing that, okay, it's treated as an asset, just like a stock, just like, a bond, whatever, a mutual fund. So you have to cash it out prior to close, but they count that as an asset. Now, what I would advise my clients is, because crypto is so volatile, make sure that you got enough to cover the transaction, because it could just drop off a cliff and all of a sudden you don't qualify anymore. Right. So that's how we're viewing crypto. So it's not that we're adding additional risk to it or different rates to, what you have. We just treat it as an asset, and you just have to cash it out before closing. Right. So that's how they're treating that now.
So this Milo service is a little different in that you can actually keep the portfolio active in the Bitcoin. So it stays in Bitcoin, and
and it may add to the value of your portfolio.
Does that make sense, Ron? So they're giving a loan on it prior to it cashing out, and you can keep it in the Bitcoin.
Yeah, so they're kind of looking at it as like a cross collateralization, right? So there are some lenders out there that do. Yeah, so they look at it as, okay, so we believe in the value of this. Just like, so a traditional cross, how that works is, if you wanted to go out and buy a new home, but you were holding on to your existing home and you had a lot of equity in that first home and you needed money for the next home, what a lender will do is they'll look at the value of both homes and they'll say, well, you've got a lot of equity here. We're going to actually do a whole new mortgage based off of the cross. We're going to take the equity in one home and then apply that to the down payment in the other. And now we're going to be able to essentially a refi on the first, and then we're going to give you a loan on the first, right? That's not traditional Fannie Freddie. That's some special stuff, right? So those are specialty broker programs. So it sounds like they're doing something similar where they're saying, we believe there's value in Bitcoin, and we're going to give you leverage against your Bitcoin portfolio to go towards the new home, and that's how we're going to count it. Now, if
Bitcoin crashes, now you owe him.
When
a win in Dan's opinion, he's not big on the Bitcoin, huh? Okay.
Well, Ray, you were saying, is this similar to leveraging against a stock portfolio?
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like it is, because you can do a loan on your own money, but if the value of your stocks fall below a certain level, then you have a margin call.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you owe the bank money. So there's risk involved in all of these things. And, whatever that mortgage company is offering, that's certainly not standard lending, right?
No,
it's not with it's completely special. So don't try to do it with FHA or BA or conventional. They will laugh at you. Don't even think about it for that. But
I think the vast majority of the people with a small Bitcoin portfolio are probably sitting there as a FHA buyer. But I think the more and more popular that it becomes and the less younger crowd, as you have more and more people and it grows, the portfolio grows. I think this is going to be a move that a lot of lenders are going to take on.
Vince has a great question.
Vince says, who or what is the full faith and power behind Bitcoin? The curmudgeon in me realizes only millennials could think Bitcoin is a good idea. It's like investing in fog. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just describing. It's kind of the younger crowd that's doing it. I had a little Bitcoin portfolio, though. We'll build it up over time.
Elon Musk started Dogecoin as a joke.
It's doing great.
And it's doing great. But like it was started as a joke, and he's going to crash it himself. He'll do it himself.
Yeah. Here's my final question for Ron. Did you do your have you done your CE for the year, Ron?
Is that leading to the next article?
Yeah, you better not lie about it.
I have completed my CE for California and Texas.
Congratulations. Regulators slap mortgage hellos with fines for skipping classes. So more than 400 mortgage loan originators will pay penalties after a multi-state investigation alleged they falsely claimed they completed their annual continuing education requirement. LOs in 42
I feel like
states.
this one, I feel like the headline on this one should have read "Regulators slap mortgage LOs with fines for skipping class." LOL. I feel like it should have ended with a capital LOL at the end.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Thanks for the insight, Ron. I really appreciate it, man. When you can pop up here. We've got one more little topic to cover, and then we're going to let Scap go because I know we're keeping you probably over what you intended.
This is going to be a quick one, though. He doesn't care about this one. Going to be.
He has a kind of a light opinion on the issue. I don't really know if he has that much to say about it. But let me display this article
I'm going to
first.
agree with him. I think what I've said and what he's going to say, I think they align very straight on.
Okay, well, we'll see. Are remote appraisals here to stay? So this article comes to us from September 23rd, 2021. Said appraisers have experienced many challenges in the last couple of years, from juggling high volume demand for appraisals, which we were just talking about in the middle of a pandy. Appraisers had to radically change their processes, and most looked to these changes in stride, adopted innovative strategies to keep everyone safe. But in the face of ongoing pandy and increasing volume impact and turn times, the industry will need to use technology to remediate the issues. Remote inspect or remote appraisals, if you're on this side of the transaction, have the power to make homeowners and appraisals more comfortable. However, some remote solutions put an added burden on the homeowner. So basically, Scap, if you could, instead of me reading the entire article, tell us very briefly what a remote appraisal is, and then how do you feel about this? It says you're going to be late for your pedicure. How do you feel about this as a tool to use for appraisers? Is this a good idea, or do you see hellfire and brimstone?
You got about an hour, because I'm ready to go on this one. All right, look, I mean, first off,
what is it first? What is it first?
First, let me say this. Everybody out there, when it comes to appraisals and the appraisal profession, seems to like to put a Band-Aid on top of an open wound. Okay, instead of trying to actually heal the wound, they're putting Band-Aid upon Band-Aid upon Band-Aid. And this is just another one of those Band-Aids to me. I mean, can it work? These remote appraisals. So a remote appraisal is basically, there's a couple different versions. Incenter Appraisal Management Company came out with an app that they developed where you send a homeowner a link from your phone and through their app, and then they get on their phone and you control their phone. Basically, as they're walking around, you can take measurements. You can tell them, hey, look up, look down, look left, look right, and snap pictures and everything. Okay, great. Okay,
that's
great.
fancy.
I mean, yeah, it's fancy, but it's also time consuming. The only thing different is you're just not going to the site and doing it yourself. You're having somebody else measure and do it. So will you get a lot of good information? Yeah, I think you can get a lot of good information, but also are you going to get a lot of bad information? Probably so.
Right.
Because you're allowing somebody else to take control of this process. Another company out there, Class Appraisals, developed a 3D digital camera app that they use with an iPhone with LiDAR technology, and it takes like a crap ton of pictures as it spins around every room, and they move this tripod around. So they have what they call an inspector that they train to do this, to go out and do that. And then that information gets sent to the appraiser, who's sitting at his desk to actually do the appraisal, get all the comps, look at all the pictures, the 3D virtual tour, the floor plan. Okay, great. Another company out there, Clear Capital, they're doing it a more traditional way where they're hiring real estate agents, Uber drivers, pizza delivery guys, Delta baggage claim guys to actually go out and, inspect properties, measure them, and take pictures and notes. And again, these people, they're not really trained. These aren't trained people.
As Vince says, cameras can't smell cat pee.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So hire some people to go out and smell it.
So you have these products. I mean, can they work in certain situations? Yeah, I'm sure they could work when you don't really need a major value on something, like maybe a home equity loan or something like that.
Right.
Maybe you're doing maybe you have a really, you're putting down a big down payment, instead of a waiver, you can send somebody out just to double check things, kind of come up with some stuff.
Dude, so, but even if you're doing a HELOC, home equity line of credit, you still got to do a drive-by. You still got to see the neighborhood. You still got to see the house.
Well, that's the problem with these remote things and these hybrids and these desktops is a lot of the new wording is that, that's what it is. It's a desktop. I don't have to go out and see anything. I'm relying on information that's either being sent to me by a third party, or I'm relying on what's on the internet, what's on tax records, what the pictures I can see, a prior listing, things of that nature.
Let's see how Zillow did with their appraisals, their Zestimates and their iBuying formula. Let's see how they did with theirs.
Yeah. And it's kind of just nerve wracking that, okay, you hear about this shortage of appraisers everywhere, oh my God, we got to speed up turn times and we need more products and more technology. Here's a novel idea, Fannie, Freddie, and lenders and GSEs. You want a novel idea? Get more trainees into the profession. Let trainees go out and inspect on their own. Let supervisors do what they do best after they actually train the trainee to go out and do it on their own when they're ready to go. Let's get some of these requirements.
That's really interesting.
But let's get some of these requirements a little bit lessened for them and allow these. I mean, I run a Facebook group of independent appraisers, like 3,500. And I also run a trainee Facebook group for appraisers that want to get into the profession and be a trainee. I have about 2,500 appraisers in this trainee group looking to get in all across the country. And their main complaint is they can't find a mentor. Well, because there's a lot of obvious factors that more Band-Aids were being thrown on things. The advent of the AMCs, these products coming out, technology. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me that they're going to allow untrained people who you don't know. I mean, do you want some ex-convict or somebody you don't know that you think is an appraiser coming to your house to do the inspection and collect the data? There's a reason why I get background checked every year. There's a reason why I have a license, because my job is to protect the public trust as an appraiser. Well, for some reason, the GSEs out there, I mean, Fannie and Freddie allow for trainees to go out there, but for some reason, most of the GSEs, most of the banks out there, most of the lenders do not allow it for some reason. So
that's wild.
They're complaining.
For other consumers that may be watching this, the way real estate agents work is that once you pass your real estate exam, you get registered with the state. You got to go through your background check and that kind of stuff, fingerprints, all that. You got to register with the local MLS normally, because the realtor realtor group. So once you go through all that stuff, then you can sell a house right away. You could sell a multi-billion-dollar commercial development same day, right? What you're saying is that there's trainees in the profession that are going through the schooling and everything. They can't do anything with you to help. If I hire someone that's maybe isn't licensed, but they have like an ability to check paperwork, they could do marketing for me, they could do all that stuff. I can hire them and pay them money to do unlicensed work, and anything they do that is maybe saying something about a house or something like that, all I have to do is look at it and say, okay, what they're saying is true, and I would approve this as if I wrote it myself. And you're saying in your profession, trainees can't even do that stuff. They can't go out to a property at all.
No, they can go out to a property, but guess what? I have to go with them until they actually get through their training period. So guess what? That just wastes my time as a supervisor to have to
getting a driver's license.
I mean, I could have a trainee for a year, and after a year of them learning everything and inspecting, 150 homes with me, and they know what they're doing, they still can't go out there on their own. I can't just say, hey, go out there and do this bank. I mean, and it's typically just for banks. I mean, if it's a private job, yeah, I can send them out there. They're allowed to do that because there's no law against that. But there's a lot of these lenders and these AMCs are saying, no, you trainees can't go out there on their own. You have to be with them every step of the way. So,
wow,
interesting.
Yeah, and it's just really, again, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound, and they're not recognizing what the actual issues are. So now they want to come up with these remote desktops and all this other stuff. So, I mean, I took it upon myself to go to my Georgia State Board and present all my issues to them about this and say, look, I mean, we don't know who these people are entering these homes. We don't know how the data is going to be presented to us. Do they know how to measure a house? Because now Fannie and Freddie want, and starting in February, they want every home that you do as an appraiser to be measured to ANSI standards. Okay. There's appraisers out there that don't even know how to measure to ANSI standards. What makes you think a realtor or an Uber driver is going to be able to do that?
Ray, remember the story we talked about? I don't know, 17, or it's been a while. It's been like 3-4 years, but when we talked about, was it for Amazon or something, like going in, like opening the door, dropping off packages, letting random people in your house, and it would have a lock. This is like that. Like
they have that. They actually do that.
Driver wander through my house. Like I understand it when, by the way, I want to make it clear, Scap, you're not for this, right?
I'm kind of torn. I mean, I am for helping speed some things up, but I'm also for it in doing it the right way and the proper way, and having these people follow this, maybe the same rules and regulations that we have to follow as agents and appraisers, as far as how your background checked, maybe have a database of these people, maybe be licensed, because at the end of the day, with appraisals, with all of these third-party things going on out there, they're making forms that you sign that say, oh, the third-party person sent me the information and I'm going to rely upon it and deem it to be correct. Well, what happens when I do an appraisal that's completely, utterly crap and wrong because I received really bad data? Well, guess what? The guy collecting the data ain't going to go in front of
you're on the hook.
He's not going to a board. He's not getting in trouble. Guess who is? Me, the guy that signed that appraisal that said, I relied upon this to be true. I mean, come on. I mean,
from an Uber driver. And so this article that you're reading, Ray, by the way, it's about remote val, I guess. It really seems like an ad for this, because it goes through like, what is it? And then pros, or what's good, what the benefits of the buyer or the appraiser, but there's no cons to this thing. So that's great.
Well, I mean,
it's also an Housing Wire, which is more lender focused.
I know the owner of that company, and I met with him and another gentleman that explained, and I went through their whole demo on it. Can I see it being used for certain situations and speeding things up? Yeah, I can see that happening, and I can see it being a good little extra piece of tech in my pocket to use in case I'm, if I got something where I don't have to go out and see a house or some kind of,
maybe use it on the ones where you got to go back and see the siding's been put on. Use it for that. Sure.
Well, or the person's like putting down 50%.
Or we have another COVID outbreak and everybody's locked down and somebody's still trying to get their refinance. So, okay, well, I can use this to do this. If the lender says it's okay for me to do that, I'll utilize this tool. However, again, even with that tool, the cons to that tool, she's going nuts again. The cons to that tool is that, you, even though you're in control of the phone and what people see, and you're telling this person on the opposite end what to do and how to measure. I mean, come on. I mean,
they don't know what they're doing.
Well, let me put it this way. How many people out there are going to want, homeowners are going to want to sit there on their phone for the next 45 minutes to an hour going like this?
Oh my goodness. What it reminds me of? When my parents asked me for tech support on an issue, no, hit the button that looks like this, and like, I don't see that button on my screen. I'm like, it's on every single screen. It's there. Just hit. And they're like, I don't see that. This is what I envision happening, where it's like tech support, long range, from appraiser to baby boomer. This is not going to go well.
Just hit the button. And know it's there.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different.
Trained by the appraiser to work.
There's a lot of different products coming out there, and there's gonna be a lot of trial and error with all this stuff. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, the main solution to any of this appraisal issues out there is to get more trainees into the field. Whether you have to, I still believe in mentorship. I still believe in training them properly, but along that lines, you can have them go. If you can have them go out on their own and gain more experience, they're going to do it quicker. They're going to get it done faster. And then you'll get more appraisers in the field to actually do stuff. If the lenders just open up and say, hey, we're going to allow trainees when they're ready to go out there and do their own inspection and collect the data. Well, guess what? I'll hire 2 or 3 trainees, have them go out and do the jobs when they're ready. And then I get to go out and do my own, so now I'm killing, I'm doing 4 jobs in one day instead of 1.
Yeah. Leverage. Yeah. Dude, there's more apprenticeship programs in the tattoo industry than it sounds like it, than in the appraisal industry.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's a whole program, a whole process you have to go through to become a good tattooer.
Is it tattooer?
A tattoo artist.
Tattooist.
The tattooist.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining
on Tatooine.
If you're watching the Book of Boba Fett, then
thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Mark, for joining our show today. Can you tell everyone if they want to look up more information from you, or if we have other appraiser trainees that are kind of listening in, let everybody know how they can find you so they can find these groups and stuff and get more information?
Well, first you can look me up at atlantapropertyappraiser.com. That's my website. You can look me up on Instagram at Atlanta Property Appraiser or MJ Scap. That's my other Instagram. You can get a hold of me at wiwapp@gmail.com, which is my email. And I'm not about to give out my phone number. So really that's the only place you're able to find me.
What is that? WIWAP?
APP@gmail.com.
Tell people what that stands for.
What's It Worth Appraisal Services. That's the name of my company.
And then
perfect.
Last but not least, if you're on Facebook and you're looking to become a trainee or something, the name of the group I have is called 100% Real Estate Appraisers. I'm sorry, 100% Become a Real Estate Appraiser / trainee. And then my main group is 100% Real Estate Appraisers, where we're all independent appraisers.
Is it 100 and then the percent sign?
Yes, 100 the percent sign. Become a Real Estate Appraiser.
All right, there you go. Well, thanks so much for joining us, man, and hang out in the green room here. We'll be right there. Dan, can you tell everybody where they can find you, man?
Yeah, on Cash App, it's D-Ludwiggrocks, DLUDWIGROCKS. You can, don't think of it as paying me for doing this free show that we've been doing and all this great content that we give you for the last 4 years. Don't think of it that way. Think of it as just buying your friend a drink, because I'm a good guy and I deserve a drink every now and then. But obviously there, but on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram, DLUDWIGROCKS. Ray, where can they find you?
They can find me at Ray Zorback. That's RAYZORBACK. Everywhere good Razorbacks are sold. Really, go look me up on Instagram. That's where I put most of the stuff, show announcements, all that jazz. I've
got good stuff, and he's getting some good reels in there too.
Man, I loved yesterday's reel with Kurt. If you haven't seen that one,
it was so funny. Office one.
Yeah, I feel like it should have more. Views, but I thought it was really funny personally because I know Skep.
I even posted a reel like a week ago, and I got 2,000 views.
Vince says, "Nice job, guys. I'll speak to Skep later."
that sounds ominous, like a threat. Is that?
Yeah, there you go. Or
it's a date. To Skep about this later.
All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. If you're in Clubhouse, don't forget to follow the club. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, please follow the page. Turn on whatever alerts you need to be alerted to the show. Please share the show. Even if you're listening to this on the replay, we'd love for you to drop the comments and share the show. That way it expands the reach of this little program. So thank you guys, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Love you. Thank you so much.